What if the government was about to put $2,300 directly into your bank account, and most people had absolutely no idea it was even coming? I know that sounds almost too good to be true, but stick with me here, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to break down everything that's been circulating about this proposed $2,300 dividend check, what's actually being said, who could potentially qualify, and most importantly, what you should be doing right now so you don't get left behind. Whether this ends up in your pocket or not, you need to understand what's really going on. So let's get into it. Here's the thing. Every single time there's a major financial announcement tied to the government, whether it's a stimulus check, a tax credit, a rebate, or a dividend proposal, the internet absolutely loses its mind. And honestly, that chaos costs regular, everyday Americans real money. Not because the money isn't there, but because people either don't understand what's being proposed, they dismiss it as fake before doing any research, or they simply miss the deadline to act because they were waiting for someone to spell it out for them. That's exactly why we're here today. So let's start at the beginning. What is actually being talked about when we hear the phrase Trump proposed $2,300 dividend check? Over the past several weeks, there has been growing conversation around a concept tied to what some are calling an American wealth dividend, an idea rooted in redirecting revenue generated from things like tariffs, federal land use, and national resource monetization directly back to American citizens in the form of a check or recurring payment. Think of it almost like Alaska's permanent fund dividend, where residents of Alaska receive an annual check simply for being residents, funded by oil revenues. The proposal being floated at the federal level follows a similar philosophy, that the wealth and resources of this nation belong to its people, and therefore, the people should receive a direct share of the profits. Now, I want to be very clear with you, and this is important. As of right now, this is a proposal. It has not been signed into law. It is not confirmed for March or any specific month. But here's why we're talking about it anyway. Proposals like this move fast when there's political will behind them, and history has shown us, with the COVID stimulus checks, with the expanded child tax credit, with Social Security adjustments, that the window between proposed and passed can be shockingly short. And those who were already informed and prepared, they were first in line. Those who found out at the last minute, they scrambled, missed deadlines, or filed incorrectly and got less than they were owed. The second problem I want to address is the dangerous cycle of misinformation. You've got people on one extreme saying this is 100% confirmed, check is coming in March, start spending. And on the other extreme, people saying this is completely fake, stop sharing it. Neither of those positions serves you. The truth, as it almost always is, lives somewhere in the middle. What we know is that the conversation is real. The political momentum is real. The economic philosophy behind it has serious advocates, and there are concrete steps you can take today to make sure you're positioned to receive any benefit that does get approved, regardless of the final amount or the final timeline. And that brings me to the third and perhaps most frustrating problem. Most Americans are completely unprepared for financial windfalls, even small ones. Studies have shown that a significant portion of people who receive unexpected government checks, stimulus payments, tax refunds, one-time credits, either don't receive the full amount they're entitled to because of outdated information on file with the IRS or the Social Security Administration, or they receive it and have no plan for it, which means it's gone within 30 to 60 days with nothing to show for it. We want to make sure that neither of those things happens to you. So now let's talk about solutions. Let's break this down simply and clearly because the details matter here. The concept behind a federal dividend check draws from a growing economic idea sometimes referred to as a citizen's dividend or a national wealth fund. The core argument is straightforward. The United States generates enormous revenue through tariffs on imported goods, the leasing of federal lands for energy production, the sale of natural resources, and other national assets. Currently, that revenue flows into the general federal budget and gets allocated through the standard appropriations process, meaning Congress decides where it goes and it rarely goes directly back to individual Americans as a lump sum payment. What's being proposed and what has been discussed in various policy circles and echoed by figures close to the current administration is a mechanism to take a defined portion of that revenue and distribute it equally among eligible American citizens. The $2,300 figure that's been circulating represents one version of what that annual or one-time distribution could look like, depending on the revenue model being used and the eligibility criteria applied. Now, who would potentially qualify? Based on the frameworks being discussed, eligibility would likely follow a structure similar to past federal relief programs. That means you would generally need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent legal resident. You would need to be above a certain age threshold. Most proposals suggest 18 and older. And you would need to have a valid Social Security number on file. There may also be income thresholds, meaning higher earners could see a reduced amount or be phased out entirely, similar to how the 2020 and 2021 stimulus checks worked. Dependents and children may be covered under a separate or supplemental calculation. Here's something critically important that most people overlook. In virtually every government payment program in recent history, the IRS has used your most recently filed tax return to determine your eligibility and calculate your payment amount. That means if you have not filed your 2023 or 2024 tax return, you could be invisible to the system. You could be fully eligible and receive nothing, not because you don't qualify, but because the system has no current record of you. This is one of the most common and most preventable reasons people miss out on government payments. Filing your taxes, even if you have little to no income, is one of the single most important steps you can take right now. The second thing to understand about how payments like this are typically delivered, the government will use whatever direct deposit information you have on file with the IRS first, then fall back to a mailed check if no banking information is available. Direct deposit is faster. We're talking days versus weeks. If you received a prior stimulus check by mail and it took 4 to 6 weeks, that's because there was no direct deposit account on file. You can update your banking information through the IRS website using their Get My Payment or direct deposit update tools. Do this now, not when an announcement is made, because those portals get overwhelmed within hours of a major payment announcement. Now let's talk about the timeline being discussed. Why is March being mentioned? A few reasons. First, the current administration has signaled a desire to move quickly on economic proposals that directly benefit working and middle-class Americans. It's politically popular and creates visible, tangible results. Second, the infrastructure for mass payments already exists from the COVID-era stimulus programs, meaning the logistical machinery doesn't need to be built from scratch. Third, some policy advocates have pointed to specific revenue benchmarks, particularly around tariff collection, that they believe could be reached by late February or early March, which would theoretically fund the first round of distributions. That said, and I want to be honest with you, March is an optimistic timeline. Legislative and administrative processes have a way of moving slower than initial announcements suggest. It could be March, it could be the second quarter of the year. It could take longer if there's congressional pushback or if the funding mechanism needs to be restructured. What matters is not the exact date. What matters is that you are ready whenever it happens. All right, let's get practical. Here are the concrete steps you should take today. Not next week, not when something is confirmed. Today. Because the people who act early are always the ones who benefit most. Step 1, file your most recent tax return immediately if you haven't already. Your 2024 return may not be due until April 15th, but there is absolutely no reason to wait. If you had simple filing circumstances, W-2 income, standard deduction, you can file for free through the IRS Free File program or through several reputable tax software platforms. If your situation is more complex, get to a tax professional now, before the spring rush. Filing early means you are in the system, your information is current, and you won't miss a payment window because of a paperwork delay. Step 2. Verify and update your information with the IRS. Log into your IRS online account at irs.gov and confirm that your address, banking information, and social security number are all accurate and current. If you've moved in the past year, if you've changed banks, or if you've had any name changes due to marriage or divorce, update those records now. This takes less than 15 minutes, and it can be the difference between getting your money in days or waiting months, or missing it entirely. Step 3, make sure everyone in your household is accounted for. If you have dependents, children, elderly parents you claim, individuals with disabilities, make sure they are correctly listed on your tax return. Many payment programs have supplemental amounts for dependents, and failing to list them correctly means leaving money on the table. Step 4, Stay informed through reliable sources. Subscribe to IRS news updates directly at irs.gov/newsroom. Follow the official White House and Treasury Department communications. Be very cautious about third-party websites, social media posts, and YouTube channels, including this one, that claim to have confirmed information before an official announcement has been made. Use what you learn here to ask the right questions and know what to look for, but always verify with official government sources before taking any major financial action. Step 5. Have a plan for the money before it arrives. I know this sounds almost premature, but this is genuinely important. Research consistently shows that unplanned financial windfalls, even relatively modest ones, tend to disappear quickly without a deliberate plan. If $2,300 arrives in your account, what are you going to do with it? High-interest debt should be your first target. An emergency fund, if you don't have one, should be your second. After that, consider whether there's a productive investment, even a small one, that you've been putting off. Having that conversation with yourself or your family now means you'll make a thoughtful decision instead of a reactive one. Hey, if this video helped you understand what's going on and gave you some real steps to take, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. We cover breaking financial news, government benefits, and money tips that actually make a difference in your daily life. And drop a comment below. I want to know, are you already filed for 2024 or are you waiting? Let's talk about it down there. Here's the bottom line. A $2,300 dividend check from the federal government is being proposed. And whether it comes in March, in the summer, or takes even longer, the people who will benefit are the people who are prepared right now. File your taxes, update your IRS information, know your eligibility, have a plan. Don't let confusion or misinformation cause you to miss something you're fully entitled to. You work hard, you pay into this system, and when there's money on the table for everyday Americans, you deserve to be first in line, not scrambling at the last minute. Stay informed, stay ready, and I'll see you in the next one.